13 victims of Plateau mob attack buried as death toll rises. Nigeria's displaced persons observe World Refugee Day amid deepening hardships. NDLEA intercepts 2.2 kilograms of cocaine, dismantles multiple drug syndicates. On the foreign scene, Iran's parliament votes to close Strait of Hormuz after U.S. strikes. Good evening and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I am Chiamaka Mwafo. 13 victims of Friday's deadly mob attack in Mangun community, Mangun local government area of Plateau State, have been buried as more bodies were recovered over the weekend. The victims, men, women and children, were indigenes of Basawa Angwanrimi community in Zara local government area of Kaduna State. They were en route to Kwanpan local government area to attend a wedding ceremony when they were ambushed and killed. Adam Musa tells us more in this report.
The initial death toll of 9 rose to 13 after 4 additional bodies were recovered on Sunday. This was confirmed by Sheikh Suleiman Haruna, chairman of Mangu Concerned Muslim Consultative Forum, in an interview with Trust TV. 9 victims were buried on Saturday evening at the high burial ground, while the remaining 4 were laid to rest on Sunday morning in Kompan. Religious leaders said the families of the victims consented to the burial in Plateau State to avoid sparking unrest in their home communities. During the burial rites, members of the Muslim community were urged to remain calm and law-abiding.
We are not happy indeed. Everybody is entitled to practice his religion. They were killed just because they were Muslims. Obviously, it's disheartening. Here, we feel we will not do anything. We are going to live peacefully with our Christian brothers and sisters within our community. Thank God we have buried everybody and nobody is trying to do anything. That's why I'm so happy, despite the fact that I've lost vital, important people in our lives. They are Muslims. So we pray the state government will do the necessary things to ensure they consult the parents as well as the state of the victims that were killed.
Addressing the gathering, the Sector A commander of Operation Safe Haven in Mangu called on residents to remain peace and allow security agencies to carry out investigations.
We
are actively investigating the matter. I received orders from Abuja to ensure the arrest of the perpetrators. I urge you in the name of Allah not to take law into your hands. Allah says, if one is killed, do not seek revenge against any person. We have already arrested 22 individuals. We made effort to rescue the remaining victims. Had we not intervened promptly, the casualties would have been even higher. Please, be law abiding. Meanwhile, Governor Caleb Muntfan has condemned the killings in strong terms and directed security operatives to fish out those behind the attack and ensure they face justice. Religious leaders and community stakeholders continue to appeal for calm as efforts to restore peace in the region intensify. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
We go to Benue State, where the Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, has pledged to bolster logistics, manpower, and other critical resources for troops stationed at the Lake Chad Basin to strengthen their morale and effectiveness in the fight against Boko Haram and ISWAP insurgents. During his operational visit to Benue State and the Lake Chad region, the Naval Chief also emphasized zero tolerance for inter-service rivalry on the front lines. Trust TV's Beatrice Kuresi reports.
Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala's second visit to Borno State touched down at the Maiduguri Air Force Base on Saturday morning. He proceeded alongside the theater commander of Operation Hadinkai and other senior military officers on an aerial tour to the naval base located at the Lake Chad Basin. The team inspected the base and assessed damages following a recent Boko Haram attempt to overrun the facility, during which several personnel were killed. In his address, Vice Admiral Ogala commended the troops for their gallantry in repelling the attack and assured them of enhanced welfare support, logistics, and manpower to sustain their momentum against insurgents. He cautioned against inter-service rivalry, stressing that unity among the forces is critical to mission success.
With respect to the last attack here, I'm happy that we did very well, and that is why the terrorists suffered greater casualties and losses, and you have taught them a lesson. But don't be deterred by the fact that we also have some casualties. Let me tell you, for those of them who fell victim of that attack, they died for a cause.
As part of his visit, the naval chief paid a courtesy call on Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum.
In terms of the importance of the waterways between Nigeria and the Republic of Chad. The waterways being cleared, it will enhance security, promote transborder trade, enhance means of livelihood of the people in the Lake Chad Basin. And this will address the challenges of poverty. I want to assure the Chief of Naval Staff that Government of Borno State, under my distinguished leadership, will partner with the Nigerian Naval Navy in order to achieve our objectives. Our objective of clearing the waterway between Baga.
He also visited injured soldiers undergoing treatment at the Maimalari Cantonment Medical Center, expressing gratitude for their sacrifice.
Well, there are some pockets of insurgents in the Lake Chad area, and that's the main reason why we are here, to assess the situation and know which area we need to improve in our operations. But all the same, we realize that there are still challenges, there are still areas that we need to improve, and we work on that, and surely we'll get better results.
With the operational tour concluded, attention now turns to how the promised support will reshape the fight against insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. Bitrus Kuruti, Trust TV News, Maiduguri.
President Bola Tinubu has directed security agencies to intensify efforts to eliminate the remaining Boko Haram insurgents following a recent suicide bombing in Kunduga, Benue State. According to a statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the President expressed deep sorrow over the attack, describing it as a cowardly act. He also extended condolences to the government and people of Benue State. In response to this tragedy, the President instructed the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to provide immediate support to survivors of the bombing. In a related incident, Tinubu also expressed sympathy for the families affected by an explosion in Kano State, which occurred at a scrap metal site and claimed the lives of 5 individuals while injuring several others. He emphasized the need for stricter workplace safety measures and called for a thorough investigation into the cause of the explosion in Kano State. The Kano State Commissioner of Police, Ibrahim Bakari, who visited the scene, confirmed the casualties and said investigations were ongoing. In line with President Bola Tinubu's directive to form a peace committee to address the lingering insecurity in Benue State, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, has commenced consultations with traditional rulers in the state. Trust of his correspondent in Benue tells us more in this report.
During a recent visit to Benue, President Tinubu expressed deep concern over the ongoing killings and directed the immediate constitution of a peace committee aimed at finding lasting solutions to the crisis. Acting on this mandate, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, began high-level consultations, first meeting with the Totii, His Royal Majesty Professor James Ayatse, before proceeding to the palace of the Ochidoma in Otukbo. While commiserating with the people of Benue South Senatorial District, Senator Akume stressed the urgency of ending the cycle of violence and restoring peace and stability to affected communities.
So encouraged by their comments and their total commitment to maintenance of peace. And you recall that the two of them, His Royal Highness the Totiba, His Royal Highness the Ochidoman, all part of the council that Mr. President requested that it be settled. And by and large, we are ready for peace. And he said the government will do everything to ensure that those who perpetrated these dastardly acts were brought to book.
At a palace, the paramount ruler of the Idoma nation, His Royal Majesty, John Eligu, who spoke in the local dialect, called for unity and collaboration among communities in order to achieve peace.
And God can use a man to achieve. And the Lord has, through the life of a lot of persons in Benue, told us what we are. The problems we see in Benue and the ones we experience in Idoma Kingdom. Agatu cannot sleep. We can't sleep in Apa. We can't sleep in Ohimini. Obadibo can't sleep. Potu, my chiefs, is that so? And if you will, and to work with the government of Benue State, I know that we can achieve peace.
As consultations continue across the state, there are growing expectations that all stakeholders will move beyond political rhetoric and engage in genuine dialogue and collective action to stop the bloodshed and displacement that have ravaged Benue communities.
Still in Benue State, the government has uncovered and arrested 50 individuals posing as displaced persons at a camp in Makurdi, originally set up for victims from the Yelwata community. Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, Abdunwase Kunde, disclosed this while briefing journalists on Saturday. He revealed that the camp, located near the international market, had been infiltrated by criminals, market traders and individuals from nearby host communities. According to the commissioner, the intruders were responsible for stealing non-food items during the night, while market women reportedly entered the camp to purchase food supplies meant for internally displaced persons. Authorities also discovered that some women pretending to be lactating mothers borrowed babies from outside the camp in order to gain access to relief materials. The crisis of internal displacement in Nigeria has dragged on for years, exerting pressure on national resources and worsening hunger and poor living conditions, especially among internally displaced persons, IDPs. In this special report from Benue State, our correspondent examines the current state of displacement in Nigeria as the world marks this year's World Refugee Day.
For nearly 15 years, the scourge of insecurity has displaced over 3 million Nigerians from their homes as of November 2021, according to available data. Once largely confined to the northeast and middle belt, internal displacement is now expanding to parts of the northwest, further straining government resources. Nigeria, meanwhile, maintains an open-door policy on asylum, currently hosting asylum seekers and refugees from 47 nationalities. Beyond the numbers, the humanitarian toll is there. Displaced persons living in camps and host communities face harsh realities, with rising concerns over how to improve their welfare, facilitate safe returns, and minimize the broader social impact. Just last month, reports emerged of widespread hunger among IDPs in Borno and Benue State, following the scaling down of humanitarian operations by key UN agencies due to funding constraints. As the world commemorates World Refugee Day, the present question remains: are the lives of Nigeria's displaced populations getting any better?
In Benue here, since the displacement in 2017 up to date, IDPs are still stocked up in camps. So, and then the worst part of the story is that there is no plans in place, no definite deadlines, nothing to be in place for the IDPs to be returned to their ancestral homes.
They come and they kill people, burn people inside house, destroy everything, destroy our food, everything, clothes, everything, children, women and old people. We are not all survived all. All our clothes are gone, all our food.
Nobody is feeding me. Even they don't know since that 7 days. It is today that I have got a break. We went there first time to receive my card. They begin to write names. That is phase one. Then the second one, when the rat comes to finish, from that time they say something happened, and this thing, they come, they come. Then we leave it till now.
Some stakeholders have voiced concern over the continued burden internally displacement places on the economy, social services, and already stretched communities.
There is influx of, there's a burden on our budgetary allocations. If you look at it, most of the IDPs are not captured in any state budget. So when the moment they begin to cater for them, that means an extra burden has been placed on the budgetary allocation. So that is one strain. Two, the security mechanisms. The security mechanisms is meant for a particular number of persons. But with the IDPs now, the mechanism, the pressure is more on the security architecture and the security systems, social services, so many institutions, so many issues. So that, and then the host communities. Let's not forget the host communities. When IDPs are placed in a particular community, the burden becomes very, very intense on the host communities.
He advocates for a multi-pronged approach, voluntary repatriation to places of origin, reintegration, or permanent settlement where displaced persons have taken refuge, strategies aimed at easing pressure and restoring dignity.
What can be done to improve the fortunes of internally displaced persons in Nigeria is to implement the policy, the national IDPs policy that was passed in 2019. There was this IDP policy that was instituted by the Buhari administration that has been in place. So the IDP policy has not been implemented. The basic component of that IDP policy shifts the burden of IDPs from the federal government to the state government. So state governments can begin to see to it that they implement that policy to the letter. In Benue, I know that there is a policy on IDP that's under review, that's supposed to be passed. So the moment those policies are made and are implemented, because the problem with our country is not the issue of policies or laws, it's the implementation. So once the implementation of these laws have been made, the fortunes of IDPs can be made better in this country.
As the world reflects on the plight of displaced persons, the call remains loud and clear for governments at all levels and relevant stakeholders to step up efforts to address displacement and allow citizens rebuild their lives with dignity.
From Benue, we go to Kano, where the state government has pledged the sum of 2 billion naira will be invested into redeveloping Kano's vital GSM market, recently devastated by a fire outbreak. The government had earlier set up a committee to investigate and manage the aftermath of the recent fire outbreak, which affected the livelihoods of thousands of youth in the state. Speaking during a visit to the market following his return from Hajj, Governor Yusuf said the investment will not only reconstruct damaged sections, but also modernize and expand the market to better serve its thousands of users.
He lost a lot of money. And by the blessing of Allah, Kano State government is going to handle the foot reconstruction of this market. As I was coming, I observed the majority of the businessmen here are our youths who are onto this business of selling and repairing GSM. The fire incident that occurred is the first of its kind in this market. And therefore, we have to take serious measures to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
The Nigerian Electricity Management Services Agency, NEMSA, has blamed the electricity distribution company for the recent electrocution incident in Gombe State that claimed 5 lives and injured 13 others. The tragedy occurred on Saturday, June 14th, at the Tudunwada Pantemi area following a power surge. In a statement on Sunday, NEMSA said the incident was preventable and resulted from JEDC's failure to act on safety warnings. According to the agency, it had issued a formal notice to JEDC on April 30, flagging serious defects in its Gombe network that posed safety risk. Preliminary investigation revealed that the surge was caused by dilapidated infrastructure, including aged wooden cross arms, low-tension conductors, poorly maintained substations, and a failed protection unit at the rail injection substation. A retired superintendent of police has sparked nationwide outrage after rejecting his 2 million naira pension benefit, describing it as an insult to his 35 years of service to Nigeria. The officer, who retired on October 1, 2023, made his grievance public in an emotional video where he revealed that the Police Pension Board approved 3 million naira for him, 1 million naira as arrears, and 2 million naira as his total retirement benefit. He described the amount as grossly inadequate and vowed not to accept it. The viral video has drawn attention to the long-standing issues plaguing the contributory pension scheme for police officers, including delayed payments and low gratuities. In a similar case earlier this year, retired DSP Esther Marcus, who left the service in November of 2018, was paid just 1.7 million naira as gratuity after waiting for over a year, and later received a monthly pension of 40,000 naira. Both cases have reignited calls for pension reforms and better welfare for retired security personnel.
Even if your brother happens to be a police superintendent of police today and he is being asked to take 2 million naira home as a retirement benefit, ask yourself if it will be well.
Some more stories. The Constitution Review Committee of the House of Representatives say it is considering 87 priority areas for amendment as part of ongoing efforts to reform Nigeria's governance framework. Deputy Speaker and Committee Chairman Benjamin Kalu disclosed this during a dinner with members of the diplomatic corps as preparations intensify for nationwide public hearings slated for July. The House of Representatives Constitution Review Committee says it is set to engage Nigerians and key stakeholders in a robust amendment to the 1999 Constitution, focusing on critical governance reforms. Committee Chairman and Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu highlighted key thematic areas under review, including gender inclusion, decentralization of power, judicial and fiscal reforms, and enhanced security architecture. Meanwhile, the committee has scheduled 2 phases of zonal public hearings across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones from July 11 to 13. Hearings will be held in Minna and Lafia, North Central, Kaduna and Sokoto, Northwest, Gombe and Maiduguri, Northeast. The second phase, from July 18 to 20, will see sessions in Yenagua and Calabar, South-South, Enugu and Owerri, Southeast, and Lagos and Akure, Southwest. The committee reaffirmed its commitment to delivering a people-driven constitution that promotes inclusivity, strengthens democratic institutions, and reflects the collective aspirations of Nigerians.
For us to be a part of something great for your wonderful nation. You know I love you. I love this country. I might stay a bit longer, who knows? But I would really like to see some wonderful change. And change comes from democracy.
It's for us to support the process, whether practically we're invited to do so, but only when we're invited. And also through, if you like, moral support. And I know that many parliamentarians in the UK are very interested in the constitutional review. You've had a number of visitors recently, both ministers and MPs.
We take this invitation very seriously. We have invested since '99 in this kind of conversation. And we sincerely hope that the outcome of the December 2025 constitutional review will justify.
We really appreciate this approach of opening for doors for discussions, and we keep on supporting you, and we commend what you are doing. Moving forward, you are ready actually to be involved wherever it is possible and wherever we have ability to contribute.
Make your contribution, be part of it. You can't be a partner without partnering. If you're a partner, it's about time you partner with her. I invite you to engage with us, share your experiences, and join us on this journey of constitutional renewal. Together, we can craft a constitutional framework that not only addresses Nigeria's current challenges, but also anticipates future needs and aspirations.
NDLEA operatives have arrested a 43-year-old woman, Adekoya Adibukola Mary, at Lagos Airport with 2.2 kilograms of cocaine concealed in her suitcase. She claimed to be traveling to India for fibrous surgery, but was found to be working for a drug baron now at large. The agency also intercepted drug parcels hidden in female dresses and clothes hangers bound for Bahrain and Australia. In separate operations, over 1 million opiate pills were seized in Bauchi, while suspects were arrested with cannabis and other illicit drugs in Kaduna, Kano, Kwara, Edo, and the FCT. NDLEA also destroyed over 4.2 tons of cannabis in Edo and continued drug education campaigns in schools nationwide. Chairman Buba Madawa praised the agency's efforts in curbing drug trafficking and abuse. Child begging has become a growing menace in Nigeria, posing serious social challenges and hindering children's development in society. But in Kaduna, experts and stakeholders believe the situation can be tackled if backed by strong policies and legal enforcement. Trust TV's Bello Musa reports.
A report by UNICEF reveals that millions of children across the world are engaged in begging. In the course of this activity, many of them are exposed to violence, exploitation, and abuse. In Nigeria, child begging is fast becoming a nationwide concern, driven by worsening hunger and rising insecurity, which force many families to push their children to the streets.
Your socialization as a parent will make you to know that, look, there's a certain responsibility you have to take for your children. And the economic factors come in. Maybe the parent cannot fetch. No job, no livelihood, which coupled with the security factors. Now, parent cannot go to farms because of banditry and all other insurgencies. Now, he can't even have food to eat.
I was opportune to interact with some of them. Their parents are even here. They didn't come from other state or somewhere. No, they are citizens of this state.
For many of these children, begging isn't a choice. It's a desperate necessity. Experts say most of them come from families living in extreme poverty, and they are calling for comprehensive policies to address the root causes.
We need to prioritize. We seriously need to prioritize the future of tomorrow. The children are the future of tomorrow. So if we sit down and look at other inconsequential things and kind of leave that place empty, we end up with kidnappers. We end up with hoodlums. We end up with these people in Zanga that tear all the traffic lights and destroy the whole road because they don't understand.
A policy, very strong policy, and backed by law. It's something to make a policy. It's something to implement it and back it by law. The policy, in a nutshell, should be, you, as a Nigerian citizen, you must take your child to school.
Another key driver of child begging is displacement, whether by conflict, banditry, or natural disasters, which forces families out of their homes and pushes children onto the streets. Cultural and religious beliefs have also played a role in normalizing child begging in parts of Nigeria. Experts insist that legal reforms are needed to protect vulnerable children and bring an end to this practice.
And then, of course, we have the Child Rights Act of 2003 that has different provisions that enshrine, the rights of children to education. And of course, child labor. There are laws against child labor. And the out-of-school children veer into child labor, and they become street hawkers and all those people that push the blind and, not the blind, visually impaired and persons with disabilities. So there are many different frameworks. There are international instruments. You have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. And when you look at those things, they have, different rights to children and so on and so forth. So policies are there as well. International treaties are there. National, homegrown, legal frameworks are there. But for me, I think many people are not aware of this.
Ending child begging will require deliberate and coordinated action from all levels of government before what is now seen as a social ill becomes an accepted norm. Bello Musa, Trust TV News Kaduna.
Down in the southwest, determined to tackle insecurity, banditry and kidnapping head-on, the Oyo State government says it is finalizing plans to procure 2 surveillance aircraft to strengthen security efforts. Governor Seyi Makinde disclosed this during a State of the State address to mark the 2nd anniversary of the 10th Assembly of the Oyo State Legislature. The report.
It was a moment of reflection and projections as stakeholders gathered for the 2nd anniversary of the 10th Assembly of the Oyo State House of Assembly. Lawmakers, political leaders, and traditional rulers converged to assess the pace of development in the Pace-Setter state. During the session, legislators took turns highlighting critical issues facing their constituencies, ranging from infrastructure challenges to security threats.
In December 2024, our administration made history with the commissioning of the first phase of the Oyo State Electron Energy 11 megawatts independent power project. For the first time in our 49 years as a state, the Oyo State Secretariat is being powered 24/7 by this IPP.
Governor Seyi Makinde used the platform to reaffirm his administration's commitment to reposition Oyo as a leading investment hub in West Africa. One of the key announcements was the plan to acquire 2 surveillance aircraft to monitor and respond to security threats across the state. He also promised to continue efforts to rehabilitate inner roads and reduce the infrastructure deficit.
I was at the Nigeria Governors Forum where the National Security Advisor briefed the House on their efforts to improve security across the country. And I made a request to him that we're purchasing 2 aircraft. The money is there. It's sitting in an account right now. We're purchasing 2 aircraft for surveillance.
Amid growing public concern, the government addressed the controversy surrounding 63.4 billion naira embarked for the revision of the government house. He defended the allocation, saying it was a strategic decision influenced by currency inflations and a commitment to upgrading state assets.
We require end-user authorization by the Office of the National Security Advisor, and he promised me that write the letter, I should consider it approved.
In his remarks, Speaker of the Oyo State of Assembly, Right Honorable Adebo Ogudoyin, pledged continued collaboration with the executive arm to drive impactful development and improve lives of citizens.
To the good people of Oyo State, let me assure that we remain your servants. Your voice echo in our debates, your concerns guide our questions, and your aspirations form the blueprint of our laws. And I also want to thank the honorable members for ensuring that whatever policies, whatever debates, whatever arguments, whatever motions or bills that are presented before the House is purely done on the people's interests and aspirations.
With less than 3 years left in his 2nd term, all eyes are now on Governor Seyi Makinde and his team to fulfill their promises and deliver tangible results for a population eager for progress and prosperity.
Over in Ondo State, the government has announced that anyone convicted of kidnapping will now face a death penalty by hanging. Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Kayode Ajulo disclosed the decision at the District Executive Council meeting held in Akure, the state capital. He said the anti-kidnapping law would be reviewed by the State Assembly to include the new punishment. Ajulo also stated that buildings and facilities used for kidnapping will be demolished following proper legal procedures. He emphasized that the state government is committed to tackling insecurity, including the growing threat of cultism, through lawful and decisive measures. Ondo now joins Edo as the 2nd state this year to adopt the death penalty by hanging for kidnappers. Unknown gunmen suspected to be kidnappers on the late hours of Saturday reportedly abducted the judge of the Bayelsa State High Court, Justice E.J. Omokoro, in Yenagoa, the state capital. Justice Omokoro, who was the presiding judge of High Court 7 in the state, was allegedly abducted at gunpoint in front of a popular eatery at the Ekeki axis of Yenagoa at about 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. The eatery opposite the popular Ekeki Motor Park threw the residents doing businesses in the area into panic. Some eyewitnesses said the gunmen wearing black uniforms shot at him but missed. They then blocked him with an unmarked white Hilux van and whisked him away to unknown destination. They didn't take away the black Toyota Prado Jeep in which he was riding at the time of his abduction. In the video trending on social media, the victim was seen struggling with his abductors who forced him into the white Hilux before driving away. Police authorities in Bayelsa State are yet to confirm the abduction. As Muslims across the world mark the beginning of the new Islamic year 147 after Hijrah, Muslims in Osun State have renewed calls on the state government to formally recognize the Sharia legal system. The demand, they say, is rooted in the constitutional provision that permits the application of Sharia law in Nigeria, especially considering the religious and cultural rights of Muslims. Hamidu Yegbade tells us more in this report.
With the 1st of Muharram ushering in the Islamic New Year, the Osun State Muslim community has a series of events to commemorate the 1447 years since the Prophet Muhammad's migration to Medina. This year's activities centered around the theme highlighting the place of Sharia law within the Nigeria's secular legal framework, exploring whether both systems can conflict or coexist, particularly in the southern Nigeria. A key highlight was the push for formal recognition of the Sharia panel in Osun State, established by the Osun State Muslim community, which has gained widespread acceptance among Muslim residents, but remains unofficial in the eyes of the government. Muslim leaders emphasized their right to access justice under Sharia law and urged the state government to institutionalize the system as a matter of equity and constitutional entitlement.
Our brothers in the north, they really took advantage of that provision and established their Sharia courts there in the north. While in the south, we decide to go for customary court. That's why you'll be seeing customary court here and there, here and there. It doesn't imply, it doesn't mean that Constitution provides that South should be establishing customary court alone. No.
So we as Muslims, we are born into Sharia. When I was born, the parents of my parents organized what is called Akika for me. That is naming. And it was organized in the Islamic way. When I wanted to marry my wives, we had nikah the Islamic way. So that is what we must make the people and the government realize, that Sharia is not a new thing. Sharia simply means law, and Sharia Islamiyya means Islamic law, and it only applies just to Muslims. So we are not begging for it. It is already enshrined in the Nigeria's constitution. All we want is for the government at different levels of administration to give it recognition.
Sharia is part of our right as Muslims, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. And look, in the southern part of the country, what obtains here is different from what obtains in the north. Why? Are you not part of the country? We want to discuss that one. Let us know our position. Is Sharia allowed for Muslims in the south or not? If not, why? What is the way out? We are not forcing anybody. We want to discuss it and get to the root of it.
The speakers reiterated that the demand for Sharia recognition is not an attempt to undermine the secular status of the state, but rather to exercise religious rights in accordance with the Nigerian Constitution. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has pledged to give the Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB International Golf and Country Club in Abuja a much-needed facelift, promising to restore the 30-year-old facility to its former glory. Habibat Ajayi reports.
The promise followed an appeal by the chairperson of the club's board of trustees during an inspection visit by the minister. Justice Monanika Dogba Mensem lamented the poor condition of the once prestigious golf club, citing years of neglect, underutilization and lack of proper maintenance.
The management committee to see how the place will be run. We had built so many things, the bus terminals, we can't run it. We are going to give it out to a private person. But that does not make it to be, they cannot be the owners. Simply we said, go and manage it. And people should have that at the back of their mind. I've just come here, I've looked around, I've seen. You don't need to take me all the whole places. We'll start with this one we're here, which is the clubhouse. We'll start with this one that we're here.
In her remarks, she urged the federal government to intervene urgently to save the iconic sports and tourist facility from further decline. In response, Minister Wike assured the board of his commitment to rehabilitating the club, citing that his administration will work to restore it to national standards.
We appeal to Your Excellency to make the IBB Golf Club your next shop center for innovation. The facility, built over 30 years ago, an intensive intervention of this facility will also boost the economic drive of this nation, which we need to provide alternative means of managing our resources. Our reliance on oil alone has not helped us much.
The minister also took the opportunity to respond to critics dismissing what he described as blackmail attempts aimed at distracting him. He maintained that no amount of pressure would derail his focus on delivering tangible results across the Federal Capital Territory. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The 67th Ordinary Session of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, has ended in Abuja. The summit concluded with President Bola Tinubu relinquishing chairmanship of the body after 2 terms to President Julius Maada Bio of Sierra Leone. In his opening address at the summit, President Tinubu listed achievements of the bloc under his leadership in the last 2 years, but expressed concerns that the setting up of the West African Standby Force was progressing too slowly given the security challenges in the sub-region. Kehinde Amodu reports.
The 67th Ordinary Session comes 6 months after the last one held in December 2024, during which the bloc approved the exit of Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger from the regional bloc. It has been a bumpy ride for the West African body since President Tinubu became chairman 2 years ago, the lowest point being the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. But there has been some forward movement, including the completion of the ECOWAS military logistic depot in Linguine, Sierra Leone, the 50th celebration of ECOWAS in Lagos, and the successful hosting of the inaugural West African Economic Summit in Abuja. The outgoing ECOWAS chairman believes these steps should spur West African countries to double down on regional integration and strengthening of the regional economy. He is also advocating the fast-tracking of the West African Standby Force to check security threats, violent extremism, and other cross-border crimes that have continued to widen and deepen in their intensity.
No single nation can therefore address these challenges alone. We must strengthen coordination, amplify political will, and prioritize a collective approach to security. This is why the ECOWAS Standby Force must move from the concept to operational reality now. I am a little bit worried about the slow pace of its activation. which is taking longer than desired. We must act decisively to operationalize the ECOWAS standby force on the fight against terrorism to serve as an instrument for peace and stability for our region.
The President of Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio, who emerged as the new chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, commended President Tinubu for the progress achieved during his two-term leadership of the bloc. The incoming ECOWAS chair is promising to prioritize 4 key areas: restoring constitutional order and deepening democracy, revitalizing regional security cooperation, unlocking economic integration, and building institutional credibility.
As we celebrate the 50th anniversary of ECOWAS, let us recall the founding fathers of ECOWAS who decided to put together ECOWAS. Those who joined President Yakubu Gowon, Head of State Yakubu Gowon of Nigeria, to establish ECOWAS deserve our permanent commendation. Their President His Excellency Yakubu Gowon of Nigeria.
The change in leadership does not reduce the huge challenges being faced by the region, which include insecurity in the Sahel and coastal states, terrorism, political instability, illicit arms flow, and transnational organized crimes. In addition to these are global inflation, food insecurity, energy constraints, and debt vulnerabilities, all of which must be confronted individually and collectively by member states. It remains to be seen if the leadership of the new chair will differ or be more effective than the hard-nosed approach deployed by President Tinubu in the last 2 years. From State House Abuja, Kehinde Amodu, Trust TV News.
Away from Nigeria, Iran's parliament has voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, considered a strategic and vital asset. A senior Iranian lawmaker on Sunday said that the parliament, Majlis, had agreed to close the key artery for world energy trade as a response to the U.S. aggression against the Middle East country and the alleged silence of the international community. The lawmaker said legislators had reached a consensus on the closure of the strait, though Iran's Supreme National Security Council has the final decision. Located at the mouth of the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most vital choke points in global trade. About 20% of the world's oil, estimated at about 17 to 18 million barrels per day, passes through it. The move could block $1 billion in oil shipments per day and is likely to send oil prices soaring. And in sports, Nigerian sprint star and 115-meter world record holder Favour Ofili has reportedly switched her sporting allegiance to Turkey just months before the 2025 World Athletics Championships in Tokyo. According to reports, Ofili cited frustrations with the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, including being left out of key events at the Tokyo 2020 and Paris 2024 Olympics, as reasons for her decision. Reports noted that the 22-year-old assured the Athletics Integrity Unit that her move was not financially motivated, despite reports that Turkey has been offering athletes up to $500,000 to switch. Ofili, who made history in May with a world record time of 15.85 seconds in the 115-meter, is still listed as a Nigerian on the World Athletics website. Neither she nor the AFN have officially commented on the development. That brings to a close News Hour tonight. For more of our news programs and documentaries, to follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Chiamaka Nwafo. Good night.